Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 743A, and today's date is August 17th, 2015, and the title of this episode is The Economic Collapse Approaches. The Market Doomsday Clock is 1 minute to midnight. Let's get right into the economic collapse financial news. Now, we understand the Greek lawmakers voted for the bailout deal. We understand this is not a deal that helps the people. Basically, it's austerity. Let's just call it what it is. It's austerity, and people are going to lose jobs. It's not going to help the people. And we're seeing at this point in time that this deal still needs approval by the European Parliament. I mean, of course, it's expected to pass. And we're seeing that Tspiras' own party is basically abandoning him. And we're seeing that there might be snap elections, forcing him to consider leaving office. I mean, what happened here is unbelievable. The people spoke up. They said they did not want this creditor deal. The government went against what the people said. Tspiras' own government party wasn't agreeing with him. And what is the entire purpose of this? Because Tspiras was voted in to basically do what the people wanted. He couldn't even do that. The bankers basically controlled and forced him into doing things he wouldn't normally do. Now, who knows? They might have had something on him. We know that they said they were going to start civil war in the country. And of course, he thought he was doing the right thing. But the right thing would be getting rid of the central bankers, listening to the people. So here we are once again with Greece, basically worse off than it was before. They're in so much debt that this is not going to help the people whatsoever. And the IMF realizes that they have so much debt that they need to write some of it off, or the country will completely implode on itself. And it will spread to other countries because we see other countries are right behind Greece. Believe me, the United States is not that far behind. Yes, we have the Fed that can create money with a push of a button. We have banks that can create money with a push of a button. But as we've been looking at the economy, as we've been watching all of this, we see that this cannot be sustained. We see major corporations, Kraft, Motorola, Lenovo, Tyson, HTC. They have announced mass layoffs in recent days. Of course, some of them are merging together. But what we're seeing is they're cutting expenses, getting rid of the people, because they realize they don't have the profits. I mean, look at this. Kraft Heinz. On Wednesday, we already discussed this, 2,500 jobs. Lenovo, 3,200 jobs. HTC, 2,250 jobs. Microsoft, we already knew this, 7,800 jobs. Qualcomm, 4,700 jobs. Alpha Natural Resources filed for bankruptcy, 8,000 employees. Oil consulting firm Swift Worldwide Resources, 150,000 energy sector jobs. Royal Dutch Shell, we know, 6,500 jobs. British-based mining, Anglo-American, 53,000 jobs. And this is a recovery. Bass Pro just announced 500 company-wide, mostly in the corporate offices. Because the sales aren't there. People aren't purchasing. I mean, look at this. The Empire Fed has collapsed. Factory activity in New York shrinks by most since the recession as orders and shipments completely plummet. The Empire Fed Manufacturing Survey just collapsed to negative 14.92 from 3.86, missing expectations of 4.5. I mean, this is the biggest miss since 2010. New orders are crashing, inventories are plunging, and employment is lower. I mean, this whole entire thing is the lowest since April of 2009. And we know what happened in 2009. It was a complete collapse. And of course, what happened was the bankers stepped in, the Fed created money to push the economy back up, to create all these bubbles, and now things are starting to really fall apart. We knew this couldn't last. I mean, think about this. This entire economy, everything that we've been reporting on, retail, homes, unemployment, manufacturing, we are seeing everything contract right now. Of course, the National Association of Home Builders, their sentiment for new homes, home builder confidence, jumped. Now, we have to go back and we have to remember what Lawrence Yen has said, because we go back to 2007, 2008. During the crash of real estate in 2008, he said prices are going to be going up, things are going to be getting better. And we can see at this point in time, this is absolutely meaningless because the National Association of Homeowner Builders has no clue what is going on. And yes, he's part of National Association of Realtors, but this is all interconnected. Now, the sentiment right now is the highest since 2005. Despite weakening new home sales and the collapse of lumber prices and lumber demand. Lumber prices and demand have been falling, while home builder confidence has been going up. It makes no sense. And then if we look at the sentiment compared to mortgage apps have been falling, but sentiment has been going up. This is an illusion. There's reality, then there's the illusion. The illusion is the sentiment. The illusion is hope. The illusion is the National Association of Realtors, the National Association of Home Builders, all telling you that everything is fine. I just looked around the country right now, in the East, in the South, in the West, the Midwest, in all different areas. Now, each area is different. We all get that. It's all not going to happen at the same way. So everyone emailing me, telling me that, oh, homes in my area are fantastic. Put that aside for a second. Understand that the real estate market is starting to crumble in many different areas. We saw this back in 2007 going into 2008. It will spread. What you're seeing now is the after effect of the bubble being blown up in your area. You're seeing the height right now. And we're seeing the bubbles pop in certain areas. There have been homes on the market right now for over 120 days. I mean, this is unbelievable because they're telling us that the real estate market is improving. Everything is fine. But people are continually lowering their prices. The houses are not selling, and it's spreading. Yes, soon it will come to your area. And you're going to be scratching your head going, what just happened here? And people are going to be left with these houses that they bought at the highest price. They're going to be underwater. There's still 4 million people underwater in their homes. I mean, think about what's happening here. It's happening once again. Everything that we're looking at is flashing. Red lights telling us collapse is coming, collapse is coming. We're seeing the same signs. There's no difference here. I mean, look at this. If we look at retail right now, year over year, retail sales increased by 2.4%. Is pitifully low in an economy that is supposed to be in its 6th year of economic growth. Because unemployment is down to 5.3%. If all those jobs have been created, why is retail contracting? And they got this number not by sales increasing, but by shutting down stores and getting rid of all the extra inventory, all the extra workforce. So they're showing an increase in sales. But what we're really seeing, if we look at this, is a complete decline in sales. Retail sales are actually far worse than 2.4% reported number. Excluding the subprime debt-fueled auto sales, retail sales only grew by 1.3% in the last year. Real median household income at 1989 levels, real unemployment north of 15%, which really is close to 30%, a massive level of underemployment, young people unable to buy a home, saddled with $1 trillion of student loan debt, middle-aged parents struggling to take care of their aging parents and struggling children, and boomers who never save for their retirement, the mood of the country is decidedly dark and getting darker by the day. Let's look at Macy's. Their sales have fallen by 2.6%. Kohl's, they were able to push their sales up to 0.6%. This is pathetic considering we're down to 5.3% unemployment. Sears is a complete disaster. They've crashed by 10.6% in sales. JCPenney, well, they closed a lot of stores, got rid of a lot of employees, and they were able to basically push their sales up to 2.7%. But when we look at the actual sales, we see sales gain of $2.9 billion. Their sales in the second quarter of 2009 were $3.9 billion. So, wait a minute. With a unemployment rate at 5.3%, and we know back in 2009 it was hitting 11, which we know was really close to 20% at that point in time. They were telling us their sales were at 3.9%. Now with the unemployment down at 5.3%, their sales are at 2.9 billion. So sales are still 26% below where they were 6 years ago. Are things really getting better? No, they're not. We are seeing a complete collapse of the system. It's coming down all around us. And then we get this message from the Telegraph, from John, I'm going to try to pronounce his last name, Vincennik. He's saying, time is now rapidly running out. The market doomsday clock is 1 minute to midnight. He's saying that it's only a matter of time before stock markets collapse under the weight of their lofty expectations and record valuations. And here are some of the signs that they're pointing at. The China slowdown. Commodity collapse. The Bloomberg Global Commodity Index, which tracks the prices of 22 commodity prices, fell to levels last seen at the beginning of this century. 3. Resource sector credit crisis. Billions of dollars in loans were raised on global capital markets to fund new mines and oil exploration. That was only profitable when prices were elevated. With oil and metals, prices have collapsed now. Many of these projects are now losing money. They're at a loss. The loans raised to back the projects are now underwater. Dominoes are beginning to fall. This is number 4. The great props of the world economy are now beginning to fall. The central banks are rapidly losing control, and we see this all around the world. Stock markets in Greece are in turmoil as the economy grinds to a halt and the country flirts with ejection from the Eurozone. Credit markets roll over right now. That's number 5. Number 6, interest rate shock. Interest rates have been held at emergency lows in the UK and US for around 6 years. The U.S. is expected to move first, with rates starting to rise from today's 0 to 0.25% around the end of this year. This will send shockwaves into most of the economy. Real estate will completely fall apart. And I believe that they're doing this because they're going to show, as they raise them a little bit, that we are in a recovery. And as they continually raise them, they want that event to occur, to make it look like another group or country brought the economy down. The bull market, number 7, the third longest on record. The UK stock market is in its 77th month of a bull market, which began in 2009. Only 2 other occasions in history has that market risen for longer. One is the lead up to the Great Crash in 1929, and the other before the bursting of the dot-com bubble in early 2000. U.S. monetary base, a measure of notes and coins in circulation plus reserves held at the central bank, has more than quadrupled from around 800 million to more than 4 trillion since 2008. The stock market was the beneficiary of all of this money, not the people, to pump this system up. Professor Robert Shiller, well, he's looking at this cyclically adjusted price earnings ratio, or Shiller CAPE, for the S&P 500 stands at 27.2, some 64% above its historic average of 16.6. On only 3 occasions since 1882 has it been higher: 1929, 2000, and 2007. So it looks at this point in time that we are heading down into a full-blown major collapse scenario. And we need to be prepared. I mean, truthfully, at this point in time, when I've been reviewing all of this, I really don't know how much longer they can keep this together. And I can see by what's happening out in the Middle East and around the world, things are really accelerating. They're moving at a feverish level. And I believe at this point in time that everyone needs to really start ramping up their preparations here, preparing for something that is coming. Those people who have been preparing, I would ramp this up a little bit here. Make sure you have everything in order. You have water, food, supplies, medical supplies, a weapon to protect your family, cash on hand, gold and silver, toiletries. Make sure you have everything ready to go. If you haven't started, I would start now. If you don't feel you have the ability to pick and choose what you need, you can go to lifereliance.com. They can put together packages of food, bug out bags, seeds, whatever you need. You can go right there. They have everything, done for you, or you can customize it if you like. And this is something that everyone needs to do. If you want to do it on your own, that's fine. Go to the warehouse, places like Sam's, Costco, BJ's, or go to your supermarket. Start preparing. Or if you have other places you go, just do it. Because at this point in time, we're starting to see things that we haven't seen before. Things are starting to ramp up. And we're hearing from a lot of other people that people are definitely preparing. The wealthy are preparing. They're getting ready. We see that Russia and China, they're going to be creating their own entirely different gold market. We know that the Western banks are artificially restraining gold prices to breathe life into the dollar. And Russia and China, they know this, they're taking advantage of it. They're purchasing a lot of gold. And right now, Russia and China and other emerging economies are involved in establishing an entirely different gold market. Well, you know what that means. That means gold will then be revalued and it will not stay at this level. This is why Russia, China, and many other countries have been purchasing a huge amount of gold. You have to remember, today, Russia is considered the world's third largest gold producer with 245 metric tons produced in 2014. China produces over 450 tons a year. So sooner or later, and I'm thinking sooner, gold prices are going to skyrocket. The dollar will lose its value, and we will be in a major, major reset. And we just have to look towards Cyprus, Greece, Brazil, Argentina, Venezuela to see what is going to happen. Where you see the supermarket shelves completely emptied. Where you see people running around trying to get supplies. Where you see the banks are closed and shut down. You see that there are people living on the streets because they were not prepared for this. Well, I don't want anyone to go through that. I want everyone to be prepared. I want everyone to be ready. Just like when winter's coming, you know the cold weather's coming. Those people who have oil tanks, what do? They fill up their oil tanks. Those people who have fireplaces or wood-burning stoves, what do? You go out and you buy a quart of wood. You're getting prepared. You buy salt to melt the ice and snow. You make sure your snowblower is working. The same thing now. You know that this system cannot stay the way it is right now. And we're seeing way too many signs. We're seeing way too many indicators. And we're noticing that their manipulated statistical numbers don't even make sense to what we are seeing. Actually, if we realize this, most of America is scratching their head going, something is wrong. I can't put my finger on it, but something is going on. This economy doesn't make sense. Over the weekend, I was with family, and most of them have no idea that I talk about this because they get very upset when I talk about anything like this. And they're telling me that the economy doesn't feel right. Something is wrong. And they don't know what it is, but they're not really believing the government anymore that everything is okay. And they feel that the stock market makes no sense to them whatsoever. And of course, I chimed in with my 2 cents of what is really going on here. And they just had the glazed look over their face like, wait, what? And I give them a little bit of information at a time because I don't want people to, pop. And they starting to realize something is wrong in the country. And we know it is. And this is why every single person needs to be ready and prepared for what is coming. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.